he did a lot of concrete work when he was younger, lots and lots of concrete work, and he would do it mostly for friends and relatives, and would charge almost the cost of material. And I always thought that that was sort of foolish because that's hard work. He said he'd rather be doing favors for people, and he enjoyed that. I spent a lot of time with Joe the last 41 years or so. He married my wife's sister, and the four of us would go all over racetracks, Washington, D.C. We even went to Colorado on a train once, the four of us. We went to Colorado to visit Junie and Vivian's stomping grounds when they were kids. Joe was interested in only one thing, having a good look at Mile High Stadium. We parked quite a ways from the entrance. Joe got out of that car and ran physically to the entrance. He was so anxious to have a good look of Mile High Stadium. He was sort of weird that way. He was a strong military man. He loved the 112th Infantry. He was the instructor of a heavy mortar platoon. And he was always proud of the fact that he could drop a mortar on a dime. And he, as a matter of fact, refused a promotion once so he could stay as instructor. They wanted to make him a platoon leader, and he wanted to stay as the instructor. So he refused a stripe. He would have been a sergeant first class by the time he got out. Okay, one of his hobbies, if you want to call it a hobby, it might be an addiction, was gambling. Joe kept track of the daily number for every day for years. He had charts about this big, and he would analyze which number is most likely to come up first, which number second, and which number third. Actually, he was quite lucky at it. He was one of the winners when it comes to playing the numbers. One story, he also played the 4-digit number, which is 10,000 to 1 odds. One night, he woke straight up out of bed with the 4-digit number in his head. And he decided that he was going to play it. He was going to put $20 on, $21 directly on that number. He got downtown and he played $12, got this number, 12 tickets, $1 each. And I might tell you, first of all, it hit. He won $60,000 on that hit. But he had $8 more that he wanted to spend. He was walking down the street with his walker, and Dr. Lenny Barretta saw him and said, "Joe, do you want to ride home?" And Joe said, "Yeah, okay, fine." And to the day he died, Joe was a little angry at Dr. Barretta because it cost him $40,000 more. He wanted to spend another $8 on those tickets. That's what you call, I don't know, luck or whatever, but to jump out of bed with a 4-number digit in your head and to play it, and it hit that day. But most of all, I think Joe would be proud for, oh, another thing, he was very, very proud of the Marine Corps. He had banners on his car that were over the top. I mean, on his windows, stuck on his back of his car. And you would know Joe was coming by all the banners that he had. And he was always talking about the Marine Corps, and he loved the Marine Corps League, in addition to being in the Army during the Korean War. So it was the Marine Corps that he really, really wanted to be remembered for. Now, most of all, I think Joe would be very, very pleased of this gathering, which is almost a family reunion, and he would be pleased that he was responsible for this. We're going to miss Joe. He was a different type of a person. Now, is there anybody that wants to say anything? Sure, if you want to stand up.
Oh, okay.
I'm the baby of the family, 75-year-old baby. So we didn't, Joe and I didn't get together much because he was so much older than me. But he would take me down to the Point, which is a place to fish on French Creek. This waterman. think we got to cross Russell. But he loved to go night fishing. We'd bring all kind of lanterns and just sit down there, and besides just 2 or 3 poles, he'd throw in just string, and he was after the muskies that he really wanted to get. But we didn't spend much time together. We did go fishing. I think we even went ice fishing once in Lake Erie. Sort of cold. We liked it. I mentioned to you Peter Paul Barretta, who's the oldest son of my sister Rosalie. He said, sorry he couldn't be here, but he's at a wedding in Washington right now. He said, I'll write you up something to say. I said, okay. I knew he was going to write a story. Uncle Joe was my mother's brother. As a boy, I sometimes visited Grandma Barretta's house and stayed overnight. My first memory of Joe was formed when I was 9 years old. I woke early one morning to go to the kitchen, and we ate breakfast, and Grandma was making bread and so forth. And there was, slowly my uncles came in one by one, Tony, Ben, Sam, and then in crawled Joe for being out all night. He was a night owl. I don't know where he went, but he wouldn't tell us. He wouldn't tell my mother. So he sat down and he just said, I'll have my usual breakfast. So Mom came over and broke 2 eggs in a bowl. No salt, no pepper, Italian bread. And that was his breakfast, raw eggs. Broke off the bread, dumped it into the eggs, and began to eat. I had never seen anyone eat raw eggs. Peter Paul said. That was a small touch I had known. Many years later, I began to remember him as a raconteur, which is someone who expands the truth a little bit. When I visited my mother after traveling to California, she'd invite Joe over, and he would start talking about his storytelling over cookies and coffee. He would go on about his life in the Marine Corps. He had fond memories of the Corps, patriotic holidays he celebrated, pride. Peter Paul would ask him about his work. He had a knack for pretty storytelling. Telling him what he did as the railroad repair shop. He was in the car repair shop where he repaired, and he mainly a painter, and he talked about those experiences. The guys he worked with, stories, details, disassembling large boxcars, so forth. Later, after he retired and made a widower, his tales turned to his special life in the evening. He loved the ladies, even in his late 70s, early 80s. He mentioned his latest girlfriend, who was a young 67. My mother would be present through most of these storytelling and family room. Every now and then, I would see my mother sitting patiently, sometimes glancing at me, Peter Paul, and rolling her eyes. After he left, I asked why she was rolling her eyes, and she said, sometimes you have to take what he says with a grain of salt. I'm not certainly what she meant. He embellished his stories with fiction, she said, rather expanding the emptiness with the lamp. But I never tired of listening to him share his life with me as a young boy, embellished or not. So that's Peter Paul Barretta. He just got married a couple weeks ago in California. We went there. Just young kid, 73.
Okay, well, it's very, very short memorial today, and very, very happy that everybody showed up. So I think I'll let the VFW take over now.
Sam, maybe you want to say
Hard. Forward. Hold. Half right. Place. Ready. And forward. And forward. And forward. Forward. Hold. Half left. Place. Freeze and hold. Order.